Hi, this is class 2 on Python for lab work. Today we're going to be talking about Pandas, a shell sheet like Excel in Python. So basically it's Excel in Python, and it can upload CSV files and then process the data, and actually can do it with multiple pieces of data, which is how it's useful. But we'll get into that in a minute. Most things are covered about Pandas in this link right here. Once again, if you want to learn more, you always can read through this. I'm not covering everything about pandas. I'm just covering like the key things that that are useful and like easy to learn. So uh, the pandas module needs to be installed onto your Python. So to install things on your Python, what you do is you use pip install pandas, and the way you use pip install pandas is just copy this, and then you go over here terminal, and then you type it out, your copy paste it, and then use hit enter, and it should load the method. Right, it's not loading for mine because I already have pandas installed, so it's not going to do it. But for yours, it'll work. And if you want more information about how to use pip install, there's a link right here to a YouTube channel that explains it. It's a YouTube video that explains it. And for a lot of the modules you'll be using, you'll have to initially pip install it into your system. So if like you're trying to run something, I use a module and it's not working, I'll make sure it's actually installed on your Python. So when you're running, let's go uploading the CSV files. So let's sort of talk about really quickly is how to upload CSV files onto your Python so then you can manipulate the data. So the modules need to be imported for each Python script program. This is not the same as installing. OS is for setting file directory and other functions that will be covered later. And you don't have OS, you have to install it like the same way you just installed Pandas. So pip install OS. You can see down here. Just run it. So after you have that started, you have to import it. You always have to import something if you don't want to use it inside the session. You don't have to install it, but you do have to import it. And then we're also going to import pandas as PD. This is just a convention of working with pandas is that you just use PD because it just makes it easier to work with because you don't want to be writing pandas over and over again. It's just easier to write PD. And it's common. So if you see it around, that's what it is. So first thing we're going to do is that we're going to get the CSV file. The beginning of this is using os.change directory. So this is going to change where your Python is looking for files, and you put in the path of where the file is. So for example, we're looking at class 2. It's down here. Class 2, this is where I have all the files we're going to work with today. And you can see the path right there. You can copy and paste it. An important thing to note is that you need to include this R, which is this means raw, in front of it. So it takes this as a raw path. If you don't, then you have to switch all these to like that way, all of them. And that's just annoying to do. So let's actually start running things. And then let's set the working directory. And you see right here that we're using the OS. You can see the OS directory. So this is a function of the OS thing we just imported, module we just imported. And then next thing we're going to do is that now we set the path of Python knows where to get the files. We're actually going to get the CSV file. And let's get a little sneak peek here, but lessons class 2. We're going to be getting class 2. You have to write its name exactly. So it's pd pandas dot read csv, and it's going to read the CSV file in here. You have to have like the whole name, including like the file extension in here, and you can see it's quoted. And I have it right here inside the folder. And we're going to assign it to df, which just means data frame. It's just a generic naming convention. Oop, no, I don't want that armed. Run that. Cool. So now we have it as a data frame, and we're actually gonna. Now we have the CSV assigned to that data frame, and now we're going to do print that data frame. So we're gonna see it. And since the data frame, the CSV file is so large, I'm just gonna open that and show you. It has a lot. Like I made hundreds of entries. There's about 400 and something of them. So there's a lot of entries, and Python doesn't really want to print all that out. So when you tell it to print out like one of these pieces of data, it kind of like abbreviates it, as you can see here. It goes 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, 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 470, dot, 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 dot. So it doesn't want to print everything out. If you do want to see the full thing, you do print. You do the print again, but instead of just doing the data frame you made, you create the function dot to string, and it gives you the full thing. As you can see here, 1 goes all the way down. And then last but not least is print df.head. And this prints out the first few entries inside it. And this is really good if you just want to see the headers of the data frame that you have. So you can be like, okay, what does this data frame have in it? You go, oh, it has IDs, it has height in centimeters, and it has blood pressure, and it has BMI. So that's the basics of getting a CSV file onto Python, and then also looking at it in Python. Now we're going to go into analysis of data. So we're going to be adding a column onto the data frame we just made. So this right here, we're leaving adding a column. So how you do that is you have your data frame that we have signed, then these brackets here, and then you give that new column we're making a name. So we're doing BMI divided by height, and then we have to assign this new column a value, and how we're going to do that is actually through a mathematical function. So we're going to pull data frames height cm, all the column values, and then we're going to also pull the data frames BMI values, and then we're going to divide them by each other. All right. And then I'm going to print out the head really quick, and now you can see is the original data frame. Just had the height, blood pressure, BMI, but now it has this new value that we created, which is BMI divided by height. So as I said before, this is very much like Excel. So this value, so height is being divided by 20, the BMI 129 by 19, and all the way down like how you would work with an Excel. Another thing you can do is just the value of a column is above a certain value. So let's say that we want to see, we are interested in seeing if a person is above a certain height, like which people in our data group are above a certain height. So once again, we have our data frame we're working with. We have these brackets. Whoop, that's not right. We have these brackets, and then we have the name of the new column we want to make, and then we have our data frame, the piece of data we want to look at, which is the height again, just right here, and then we do this test, which is this above 152? Under 152 centimeters. So this is like in the first lesson we had talking about how you can like compare values. This is where it comes into play in a more practical sense. So we hit go and it starts. Oh, there we just did a test. Now let's look at our data again. And you can see now we have this new column. It's 153 centimeters above true. So true, this person is higher, taller than that, taller than that, taller than that, taller than that. And then this person's not, so it's false. And then let's just do another test where we just square BMI. So once again, our data frame, brackets, the new name for the column we want to make, the original data we're working with, and then these two stars, whoop, these two stars equal like squared in Python. So let's run that. And there we go. We have all of the BMI values squared. So this is a very, you can do a lot of stuff with this by making columns, by either data manipulations, or you can even like assign a new column just values that you know of to it. So now we're going to be looking at data frames, turn categorical values into digits. First, we need to create. So we're changing gears a bit. Turning category values into digits. Create a list to work with and modify. So we're going to basically turn this column, the blood pressure column, into a list. We're extracting the column and making its own thing, and we're assigning it to data frame list. And then I'll print out that list, and you can see now it's its own thing. It's extracted. And we want to then change the values of the values in the list from low, medium, high to 0, 1, 2, and 3, because like a lot of statistical methods better work with like digits and not like these categorical values, low, medium, high. So we're going to replace low with 0 here. And the way we do that is that we take dflist dot replace, and then we do low with low as the value you want to replace, and 0 is the value you want to replace it with. And we're going to assign it back on itself. And you might be wondering, why don't we just do this with the original data frame and just replace the values directly? And I don't like doing that because I don't like losing data. So at the end of this, we're going to make a new column that will be the digits version of the blood pressure without getting rid of the original column of low, medium, and high blood pressure. So let's assign, go. So basically medium. So low is being replaced with 0, medium is being replaced with 1, high is being replaced with 2, and now what's print? And this are being reassigned to the df list, so it's kind of overriding the old one. And now let's run it, and you can see here they're all now numbers: 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, blah 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 blah. We have successfully replaced the low, medium, high with 0, 1, 2. And now we're going to give a new column, blood pressure as digits, make a new column, and once again, data frame, brackets, bracket, name of the column, what you want to assign it, and we're going to assign this column as the div list. All right, and now we're going to print out the whole data frame again. And when you do this, just double check and make sure it's like the values line up. Like you want to make sure that low actually has become 0, and so you can see high, and then you can go all the way across and see now, oh, it is 2. And just go through it and make sure that it has worked as intended. You don't want to have like mismatching data. Yeah, it looks good. So another thing is if you want to get a very specific value on a data frame, for example, get the first row of the data frame, you can just do print df dot locate and 0. Once again, with all Python stuff, it's indexed at 0 is the first one, so 0 is first, then 1 is second, and third is so on. So let's go like that, and then you can see the first row, ID, blood pressure is that, and we'll change this. We'll change this like 10, and run it again, and it just gives us the 10th row, which is really the 11th row. Change that back. And then you can also get multiple rows. You do that by slicing. So you do print .df, the data frame .local, and then you do the slice. So you want the rows from 0 to 5. Let's run that. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So once again, index at 0, so it has the first 0. So you get the first 6 of them right here. And then finally, you can get the specific values, like a very specific cell if you want. And the way that you do that is that you put in the column, the row location, and the column location. So give me a second. Let's get a run. So let's run this. So data frame, location, .location, first row, third column. Oh, it does. Okay. And then it gives us 19. Which is, I think, one of the BMI levels or something. Or the heights. I'm not gonna look. I can double check. And then get volumes via the column name. So you can do print dot print, and then you do data frame, and then brackets, and then the name of the column you want. And we're getting ID, and you can see it just gives us ID. And now that we have, check something, make sure it didn't. So you can see here. So now that we made like all this modifications to this file, we're gonna export it back out to my file, like save it back into the folder, and I'm naming it class example 1 mod. So modified. You can see it's not here right now. So let's run it. So data frame, it's gonna take the data frame, and then dot to CSV, so it's gonna convert the data frame to a CSV, and then it's going to save it as the name you put in here. And it's going to save to whatever file location you're currently at. So I'm going to run that. Cool. And let's go back here. You should want to refresh this right there. So you can see blood pressure digits, BMI squared above 153. Let's actually look at the original too. And you see that it doesn't have all this information. So this way that you say you can modify and then save it again. All right. And let me be honest with you, if you're just doing this for one piece of data, it's probably just easier to work with just through Excel. But the real thing that Python shines, and what I've used it for, is working with multiple files at the same time. So if you're working with multiple files, first thing you do is import OS. So we're going to work with multiple files. Import OS, import pandas, and then import glob. Glob is something new. Glob allows for multiple files if you work with it once. And if you don't have glob, you have to pip install it like I discussed before. And then once again, we're going to set. So for this example, I created a file called multi-CSV. It has multiple CSV files in it. So we're going to path it there. Once again, here's the path. User, OneDrive, desktop, blah, blah, blah. Here. So we're going to set that path because those are the files we're going to work with. And then we're going to get all the CSV files in that folder. So the way that you do that is we're going to assign it to all files. Use glob dot glob, and then you use .os .path .join. So I'm going to explain this better in a second. And then path, and then CSV file. So let's go right to left. So the star.csv file is that you can actually tell it to grab more specific things, but when you do a star, it basically means any file you do a star.csv file, it's telling it to grab all the CSV files in that folder. So all the CSV files in this folder it's going to grab. So if there's any other type of folder, any other type of file, like a Word file or like a Excel file, it won't grab it. But this is how you get is the star. And I would go more into this, but it's like regex, coding language, and it's beyond what you really need to know. Is that you can't technically make this more specific of like what kind of what based on the name of the file what to grab, but we're not going to cover this in these classes. Just remember that like star.csv file grabs all the is referring to every single CSV file in a folder that you're going with. Then the path, this is the path that we created. So the path is like where you designated where the files are. So there that is. And then os.join, path.join is basically it's joining the path, this path, with this star CSV file. And it's basically saying, okay, look through this whole folder and any files that any CSV and look for this folder and find any CSV files through it. So you need this os.join path. And then glob, which is a silly name, is there to like basically takes up all the files that are there that meet this criteria. And then we're going to assign it to all files. So copy that, and give me a second. I'm gonna try something like that. Well, let's actually just run all files, and then you can see here it gives us a bunch of lists of like the various Excel files in there and their full path. So there's the first one, there's a second one, and this is the third one. So then we're going into a slight loop. We're going to be talking about loops in more detail next class. Not next class, in like 2 classes from now. And so basically, just so you need to know, this is a way to modify all the each of the CSV files that you have in your file all files path. So for file name, so each one of these file names in all file path, it'll go through each one individually. So every single one of these file names will be go through this project individually by themselves. So the first step is that we're going to turn the CSV file going through it into a data frame without index. All right. And then, oh, don't want that. And then divide one column by another column. Any math works here. So once again, data frame, BMI divided by BMI, data frame height CM by BMI, and then test values again. So basically, we're doing the same thing as we were doing before. We're just doing it for every single one. And here's the more difficult part: is that we're going to have to generate new names for each of these files. And the way that that is done is that you have to. The way that I do it is that I literally just do, assign the data frame assigned to CSV like we did before, but we have to make the file name. But you can see here, file name, which is what this is referring to, which is actually like for the first one, it'll be this full thing. And then we're going to be using negative indexing. So if you come down, so it's from 0 to -4. All right. So negative this 0, 4. So basically, we're going to just kind of reverse. So it's from 0, which is the beginning, which is here of the name. And then we're going to go all the way to like -4, which is here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're only getting this part. And the key part here is actually getting rid of the CSV tail. That's why it's -4 on here. And then we're going to add the name modification mod.csv. So we're taking this part right here. We're taking this part right here. Essentially, and then we're going to be adding do this more clearly. So we're getting this file name. We're getting from 0 to -4, so negative index. So since it's -4, that means we remove the last 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Save -4, get rid of the last 4. And then we're going to be adding on this right here. That's what this is doing right now, is creating this name. Delete this. So now that as I'll explain, we'll run it. Sorry. No, I did that. There we go. So we just ran this, and we go back to our folder here. You can see that now this folder has the original file, but now has this modified version. So the original, this is not the original. There we go. The original file right here is with the ID, height, blood pressure, and BMI. And then over here you have the modified version. You can see example 2, class 2, example 2, class 2 mod. And you can see here is that it has like the values that we calculated. And so if you have like something you want to do with like a lot of files instead of doing it by hand, you can just make a program that does all of them all at once. That is what I mostly found the usefulness out of this is doing. And also I made that had like a zero indexing, which is important because it'll make it index and you don't really want index. And index is the it'll add numbers on the side. You'll have like 0, 1, 2 all the way on the side up here. You don't want that, so you just ask it for it not to do that when you make the CSV file. So now let's get into more data modification. So let's say you have a bunch of you have rows in your data that have NA in it and you don't want them in there. I don't usually do this because it causes a loss of data technically as they're removing these NAs. I don't like doing that, but I'm going to still show you how. So you set the file path to the file place you want. We talked about this multiple times already. Just set it back to class, and then we're going to use the PD pandas read CSV file, and we're going to read class example 2 for this class. So assign it to data frame, and then let's print it. And you can see here in this data there are NA samples, NA results, basically cells without values. And then right here, we're going to create a new data frame. A new data frame from the original, so original data frame we just made, and then do drop NA. So it's going to drop all the NA values. And let's just find one example. So you can see here 3, ID 4, index 3 as NA. Now let's look at the data frame that has it dropped. You can see now that it's gone. Like it just goes from 2 to 4. It just totally dropped that data, piece of data. So be careful when you do this because you're going to be losing data. And there's like statistical ways to avoid that, but I'm not. That's beyond the scope of these classes. So now you can. Another thing is fixing data frame column format. So first off is that we already set the working directory, the current directory. So we don't need to do that again. So we're just going to download example 3, which we've done multiple times, PD, read CSV, run that. Let's print the data string. You can see here. All right. And here you can see here in this is that we have dates, but one of the dates is wrong. Like some of these dates, one of these dates is wrong. It's not following the same format as the other dates, and we'll fix that. So the way that you do that is you make all the data in the date column have the same format. And this is not always the best. Sometimes it messes up, so I don't really like using it personally that much. But it is useful at certain times. So we're going to look at data frame, the date column, and then pandas dot date time, and then we're going to once again get the column data, the column date, and then format mixed is telling that it's mixed, and then it will figure out which one is like it'll pick one. It'll pick like the most common format, and then kind of force all of them to have that format. So we assign it, and then we do that, and you can see here now it has all the same format. All the dates have the same format. But look, but you can see once again, it didn't really pick either one. It just like made its own. So that's why it's a mixed bag. It's kind of it's not its mind of its own, but it has its own functions, and it's not going to always do exactly what you expect it. All right, so we're going to do find and remove duplicate rows. So we're going to duplicate rows in here, maybe. So the remove duplicate rows, run that, and you do return true if there's any duplicates of a column. So we're going to do print.df dot duplicated. So this basically tests if there's a duplicate in the column. And you can see here, it's true there's a duplicate, true, true. So there is indicating that there's duplicate data. Like there's duplicate, like full rows that are duplicated. And now you want to remove the duplicate values. So you use the assigned data frame that drop duplicates, and then in place true so they don't move around. So let's do that. All right, and then let's test if there's duplicates again, and you can see all false now. All duplicates have been removed, and you can double check yourself. I forgot which ones I made duplicates, but they are gone. All right, so this is actually creating data frames within Pandas. Before we were just taking from CSV files and then working with them, because that is the most likely scenario you're going to be in. But you can actually make your own data frames in Pandas if you want to, in Python, if you want to do more complex work. So you can create a data frame via a dictionary. You surround it with these brackets, and then the key values, the keys and the values. The keys are the column names, and then the values are what's in the columns. So this is how you make and then you do, and you sound the dictionary to a value, which we'll do, and then we then assign. Then we do pandas.dataframe, and then my data set. So we take this assigned value, put it inside this data frame converter. So it then, right now, this is a dictionary, and this will convert it into a data frame. And call it my variables, and then we can print my variables. And you can see right now, right here, it looks like a data frame. And then get certain values from the data frame. And this, once again, we're just going to go, there's another way to get certain values. So second column, first row, you're just calling that with this function right there. So second column, second row, sorry, first column, and get you Volvo. You also can make data frames from a list. The same kind of format. You just pd.series.a. Now let's look at that. So you can see it's now, this list is now data frame 172. It's not immediately useful, it's just for later use if you get more into more complex programming where you have to like take a bunch of data from different places and then make your own data frame. And then we're gonna get the first one. So the data list, the data frame is made, and then the first index, which is 1. and then you can also give you can also assign indexes to a data frame. So we're going to make this turn this list into a data frame again, but this time we're actually going to assign indexes, which is by just doing indexed equals and then whatever you want to index it as. There you go. And now you can see instead of having like this 0, 1, 2, and now it's assigned to X, Y, Z like we assigned it here. And then you can get the specific value. So you look, I want from index Y, and it gives us column Y, which is just 7. So and that's it for all the lesson for today. The once again, a lot of this can be seen in the link I shown you, and some more stuff that I didn't cover, and some of the stuff I did cover here is not actually in here. So if you want to learn more, there's plenty of resources like this one online. But look into it. But what I showed you is a really good start for this. And for this week, our homework our homework assignment is this right here. It's is taking the class homework CSV into Python and then following these steps into it and then creating a new data frame and then email me the routing CSV file and then like the Python code as a text file. Oh, really quickly. So the way that you say you can just file, save as a Python code you've been making, and just assign it as txt, and then it'll be a text file. As you here. So when you send me a Python file, send it to me like this. All right. And then you can see the homework file here. And also I'll include like the homework solutions here, which is just the CSVs, though the CSV you expect to get from completing the assignment, not the code. All right, that is it for today. Thank you for listening and watching. Feel free to reach out to me and email me questions if I can't, and if you ask me a question, I'll either tell you directly or through email, or I will there's various like YouTube videos and stuff outside that are very useful, or resources that I'll link you to that I know of. All right, thank you.